What's up, Bannock folks? Today we are asking the age-old question, is it better to burn out than to fade away? In light of Metallica's recent album and the discourse around it, it got me thinking about legacy, old metal bands, and more so, like, how long does a band have to suck before we stop kissing their ass? We also have the very talented multi-instrumentalist, vocalist, music engineer, crop topper, mosh caller, Tommy Wood. He's going to be joining us a little bit later. They're going to be talking to us about World's Grasp, which is their Metallica influenced, very thrashy side project they do. And I'm hoping we can also get sort of a beginner's guide on how to start recording and mixing your own music for yourself. So we're going to ask them about that. And of course, we're going to talk some Metallica. Please don't forget to check out next week's encore as well. Tommy's going to be sticking around. They're going to help us do a review of 72 seasons, and we're just going to talk some more Metallica in general, go into their old discography, do a little bit of ranking. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Okay, guys, so before we get into the local releases, I wanted to talk about a little bit of news, a little bit of local news, and then something big. The first one is really, really big news. There's a new band out. I'm sure by the time you're hearing this, you've heard of them, but it's Better Lovers. This band is like a dream supergroup of mine. How are you feeling about them?
Oh my God, this song is so sick that they dropped. I love Jordan Buckley behind the guitar. He is such a character, even when he's not behind the guitar. Will Putney on guitar. We got Jordan Buckley. We got the other crew from E2, which is Goose on drums, and Mitch. I don't know his last name, but he was bass on for this. And then fucking Greg from Dillinger Escape Plan. This is unreal. And you and I were talking about just as like it came out, like, you thought Jason Butler was going to be the
Mm-hmm.
vocalist for Better Lovers, why is that?
I just feel like Jason and Keith seem to be cut from the same cloth of like borderline pretentious, like artsy sort of hardcore dudes. I don't know. I just sort of felt like I think I looked at it more along the lines. I think I looked at it more along the lines of like if Every Time I Die was to continue in their style, I could see Jason from Butler, Jason from Let Live, or Fever 333 and a few other bands. I could see him fitting in and like doing that style well and being able to like transition their songs well in a way where people I don't think would find it like I don't think it would be too upsetting if Jason stepped in as the singer of Every Time I Die.
Hmm.
Greg was really, really unexpected to me. Greg's in like 8 bands or something insane, so I guess I just didn't think that he would even have time to be doing something like this. This is an absolute match made in heaven. I'm super stoked on this. 30 Under 13 is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said you find parallels between Jason and Keith because when Keith had to drop out of that tour years back before they dropped Low Teens, um, Jason stepped in for I think part of that tour and he did a bunch of songs for them. So it's funny that you say that there are parallels. I thought Josh Scoggin was going to be a vocalist for the new
Mm-hmm.
Jordan project. Maybe he'll show up for the Keith project. I don't know. We'll see. But this is really exciting. Like you said, this is like a dream band. You said Greg's is like in 8 bands. I had no idea he was even that active. For some reason, I thought after Dillinger, he just wasn't doing anything. But he's got Killer Be Killed, right?
Killer Be Killed. He has a solo project that started extremely heavy and is more of like a moody sort of thing now. He's in some other band, as far as I understand, too. 8 might have been a bit of an exaggeration, but he does a lot of stuff. So you bringing up Josh Scoggin, now you've got my wheels turning in my head about what that could sound like. Because as much as I love Greg, I think there's just something so guttural about Josh Scoggin's delivery, and I would love to hear him. I don't know if he's active doing something right now, but I think Josh, like in a perfect world, I would have Josh over Greg, but Greg's still a crazy choice. Obviously, I was a huge fan of Dillinger, and Greg's a super like artsy guy as well. Even his delivery on 30 Under 13 is really unorthodox sounding. He just drags out a lot of stuff. It reminds me again of like early Dillinger songs where his voice was just like screechy and he like it's like dragging. This band's gonna probably be one of my favorite bands. Like I'd be shocked. They announced a tour with Under Oath and The Ghost Inside.
Wow.
Yeah, no. This ain't your mama's supergroup, boy. This is a tough supergroup. This is a supergroup cut from coal.
Keith's band, because I know he's got something in the works. He's got to pull some punches out now too. Like this feels like some sort of competitiveness. I don't know. I don't know if you're feeling that, but like with this all-star lineup, this is definitely exciting. I'm really curious what Keith has to bring to the table because he has Damn Things, which is already like an all-star lineup, but he wasn't doing. He says the new band isn't all Damn Things because like was it Ian Scott is busy with Anthrax almost 90% of the time. The dudes in Fall Out Boy are busy with Fall Out Boy and other stuff. So
Yeah, I don't think Keith is gonna have any shortage of guitarists and drummers and bassists looking to work with him. And maybe he'll do something really unorthodox. Maybe he'll do a more singer-songwriter thing. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. So, in big local news, big news, guys, big news.
big news, guys.
Hardcore Warrior's a dad, guys. Can you believe it?
Oh
Hardcore Warrior's a dad. Inserting clap noises right here. We're inserting clap noises. You're hearing them. Congratulations, Justin. Stoked for you. Synergy of the Father played their last show on 420, a very fitting way to go out. You played that show with Sinner. How'd that go?
Well, that was a fun time. Yeah, no, I was the first time I played the Falls in a long time. It was a great show. A lot of people came out. It was a Thursday night. It was 420. Good times. All the bands played really well. We had Temple of Night, which is that really cool local black metal band that does the whole 9 yards with the face paint and you know, like cloaks that they're wearing. And then you had Mindswell, which are really cool, kind of like for fans of Knock Loose kind of band.
Yeah.
You know, we played and we had a good time, and yeah, it was a really good time. Everybody had a fun time, and of course the Weaver brother killed it, and me and Squires from Sinner AD actually went up and did a song with Justin, and we had a good time doing it.
Yeah, no, I have so many memories of Justin just over the years, be it, you know, just being aggressively hugged every time I see him to, I remember at, I think it was an Attack in Black show, like a really early on Attack in Black show, Ian, like, broke his cymbal thing. And, so Justin just went up and literally held the cymbal, like, on the thing in place for him, and he's just smashing the shit out of it, and Justin's just holding it, like... Man, his dedication to the scene is truly unmatched. I love that dude. I don't know what else to say. His podcast episode on this channel is beloved. It's like a personal favorite of mine before I joined, by the way. Just what a ride of a conversation. I absolutely love that guy. His upbringing is so interesting.
Very.
Yeah, so one more time, big round of applause. Congratulations. Hardcore Warrior is now a hardcore dad. And he gave it all up to take care of his little tot. So we're stoked for him. Not necessarily local news. And again, we're always a little late on this podcast because, you know, we have lives and stuff. So news comes a little late here. I think it's really, really cool that Knocked Loose played Coachella. The footage I saw from it was like just... It wasn't like I had like memes in my own head that I was inventing of like Knocked Loose coming out and like playing any of their songs and just like what that looks like to like a casual Coachella goer. But like there was like massive circle pits, like stuff that makes no sense. Like it looked so cool. It's a massive moment for like metal and hardcore, and like I don't know, I don't know, like, so I know that, like, some people, like, I think Knocked Loose is one of those bands that got so big so quickly that, like, they became, like, a band to hate for a bit, You know what I mean? I personally I love Knocked Loose. I don't know, like right down to like their first like EP with like again, I'm forgetting so many songs today and stuff like that. But I genuinely love that band, and seeing them play Coachella is absolutely wild.
Shout outs to Matt Andrews, who was Russ's old drummer. He mixed that show live. He was actually doing. I think he tours with Knock Loose, and yeah, awesome. The cool footage that I saw. Yeah, the huge circle pit, big step in the right direction for like metal. I'm right there with you for Knock Loose. For a long time, I actually didn't really like them. I kind of didn't get the thing, and then I don't know. Maybe it clicked for me. I saw them live, and it was super powerful, and I was like, okay, I get this band, and I saw and that was just in a small setting, and to see it kind of grow from clubs and venues to fucking Coachella. That's the dream. Like, are we not kidding? Like, that's what bands are trying to achieve these days.
Moving on, Zellers returns, and no one gives a shit, and I don't understand why anyone pretended to give a shit. It seemed to benefit Jacob Bergsma pretty well. He's blowing up.
Yeah, he was really riding the coattail of the return of Zellers. But yeah, it's back in St. Catharines now?
Sort of. It's like a small section of the Bay.
What?
I haven't been. I just I saw a sign outside of the Bay, and it was like,
when your store
we have Zellers. I'm like, oh shit, do you?
When a store has to be inside a store, that's like, why are you bringing it back?
Stop! He's already dead.
Yeah, I've been puzzled by this for a while. Like, besides that little diner they had, which was absolute fire if I remember, and obviously the little carousel you could go on, that's top tier shit.
The Zeddy wheel.
The Zeddy wheel, 100%. Other than that, they're just like a Walmart. I don't understand why you would it's like when Target came here and everyone's like, oh my god, we have Target, and I'm like, it's Walmart. I don't what do you mean we have Target?
Target never played any music when you were in there, and it was the weirdest, most off-putting thing ever. You're like, something's missing.
I never thought about that. I didn't go into Target too many times, but yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine getting excited over Zellers returning, but I'm really glad it worked out for Jacob Bergsma. So shout out Zellers, thank you for your glorious return. Thank you for helping Jake. Since the last podcast, there are bangers on this list. Really interesting week too. Some different stuff, some stuff that I wasn't expecting. A couple curveballs here.
Some of these stuff, just to be clear, didn't come out within the last month or so. We're kind of still playing catch up. I had lots of people suggest some songs that maybe I missed in the cracks. So this isn't necessarily the newest stuff that came out, but this was stuff that caught on our radar. And yeah, let's jump into it.
Yeah, the first song that I have on the list here is actually the song Nicer Guy by The Dirty Nil. Is that how you say it?
The Dirty Nil? Yeah.
The Dirty Nil? Thank you. Sorry, my timing was atrocious on that. Yeah, so we have a react up on the channel by the time you're seeing this, so go check that out if you haven't yet. You can go check out our thoughts.
So a brand new band from Hamilton just came out called End Us. They just came out with a debut track called Severance. What did you think of this?
Oh, I thought this was awesome. It reminds me of the vocalist kind of reminds me of the Architects vocalist, that mid-rangey, strong, yelpy sort of vocals. I really like them. And then musically, it's almost giving me American Me or Recon vibes, big, beat down, super tough ass shit. Yeah, there's a little whispery passage in it as well that again is the type of thing that I would typically find kind of corny, but they pulled it off really well. It adds this super eerie vibe to the whole track. The tone on the guitars are super clean. The vocals are recorded crystal clear. Yeah, this, if you're a fan of beat down stuff, just tough guy mosh shit, this is a huge recommend.
I thought the production was really good on this, and it's funny that you say those bands because I was getting like Sworn In vibes.
Oh, I'm gonna bring them up later with another band actually, but yeah, I've been thinking about Sworn In this week too. Spoiler alert, but I didn't get it with them specifically. There's another band on this list that I think it is like basically the new Sworn In, so we'll get into that. But cool. Yeah, but a huge recommend for End Us. Yeah, you guys rule. I'm really excited to see what they pump out next. So, Genty post-metalcore outfit, I See Aura, dropped a single. This was my first time actually hearing them myself. I liked it. I'm not a huge Gent person, but I like what I heard there. It's super bouncy. I like the layered vocals on here. Tone's crazy, slinky. It's got some, like, nice little techie parts. Reminds me of, like, Veil of Maya or, like, early Volumes. What'd you think?
Yeah, I was getting. I thought it was a solid track. I've listened to this band a couple times before, especially that thick guitar tone, like during that groovy, like chuggy part. Yeah, I thought it was super cool. It reminded me of like 10 years ago, right when that Gent boom was kind of popping off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. No, I like the ending too, the like little electronic-y part, like the way like the kicks are going over it. I really like their drummer. I think he's I like when drummers are good at, like, pocketing just, like, little, like, clicks of, like, double kick parts and stuff. Like, it just adds, like... I've always, like, for me, like, one of the main draws to, like, metal that I've always had is I'm such a fan of, like, tiny nuances in music. I love, like, that 2-second transition from, like, where the drummer does something that, like, the bass hits something, like, you know, like, Between the Buried and Me has, like, 5 of them per song, you know what I mean? Where there's just this, like, crazy thought-out transition, so... Yeah, I like stuff like this where, you know, there's those little nuances in parts, and it feels like there's a lot of thought put into it, not just, you know... there's a lot of thought put into the macro in this band, not necessarily just the big overall picture. They take time and they sprinkle in those little details that are nice.
Next up, we have Losing Sight. They're from London with their brand new single, Vehement. Featuring Mike Parsram, who is in Cold Shoulder, Street Justice. What else is he in? He's in Heartless, and there's another band that he's in that's slipping my mind right now. But yeah, this is a crazy release. I love this band, Losing Sight. You got Jameson Barry in it. You got Aiden. Those are homies. You know, Jameson's been on the show. Big, thick tone always reminds me of, like, for fans of Knock Loose. This band just doesn't make bad music. It's the type of song you see, like, be very exciting to see live. You know, Mike's part is, like, very pronounced. You can almost see him getting up on stage and, like, joining the song, like, because he's, like, known for doing that kind of stuff. It's great. Yeah, no, I loved it. Massive production.
Yeah, Mike from Cold Shoulder has such a absolute presence when he's on a song, his own band, any of the you know 4 or 5 bands he's in, especially Cold Shoulder. I think he has so much personality and presence, like as a hardcore vocalist. He's such a standout vocalist for me on this song. When he comes in, like he's a show stealer, like, you know, like he's like the rapper you're scared to have on the song with you because he's gonna like just fuck shit up and you're gonna be like, I gotta follow that. Like, but I mean, honestly, the vocalist of this band as well, like he's absolutely delivering it. This shit reminds me of like early Darkest Hour, On Broken Wings a bit even. Again, I was talking about pocketing lil kicks. The way they do that pause and there's just that like little like and then like I think that, yeah, there's the little and then they do the vehement mosh call. Man, that is OG MySpace core. Like, I love the way they did that. That type of shit live is just so awesome to see. I love how many bands around here are throwing it back to those early 2000 days where, you know, the genre just felt fun. All right, guys, this is a brand new band for me. Barrie, Ontario's very own Wolf Fang Fist. I have a typo here in my notes. It says Wolfgang First. So, Wolfgang Fist, ladies and gentlemen, they put out a 4-song EP. I was able to check it out. Nice classic punk song on this. A lot of attitude in the vocals. Fuzzy guitars, not going for, like, that metal or, like, super, like, high gain tone. That sort of, like, bridgy, sort of middle tone where it's, like, nice and fuzzy, but you can still make out the notes really well. Yeah, nice, like, just throwback punk music. What'd you think?
Like a fun... like I only checked out the one track, No Chance. I thought it was a fun. I think that was the first track they put out, which was like their debut track, which was really fun. It was giving me like early 2000s hardcore, like kind of like Keep It Up. Remember that like Niagara Falls band and Dead Kennedys. Like his vocals were kind of like Jello Biafro, and yeah, super cool. I thought it was the guitars were very bright.
Yeah, no, they're a super fun band. I'm excited to see what they keep doing. Speaking of throwback punk,
yeah, this is
you want to introduce this next band
the
for
homies. Like we played several shows with them. Hellbent. They put out a tune a couple months back called Activism TM, trademark I suppose, but just TM. This was a great track. This is like the thinking person's version of Hellbent. that's not supposed to be any dig or anything, but like they're great. I like it reminded me like Stacy's vocals. Stacy's been on the show before. They're amazing on this track. That one solo cuts like a linoleum knife. Like it just like so bright. Like I actually thought like I was listening to this track while I was driving, and I thought something like honked at me. I was looking around and no and yeah, I thought it was a really cool track, really fast, really cool, and Bad Egg, they've always got something to say, and like I said, they're great people to be around.
Yeah, this was like the soundtrack to a bad acid trip for me. I really like when punk music can sound like trippy in a way that I don't even necessarily know how to describe why it does. Like, it doesn't sound like psychedelic rock necessarily, but there's just something sort of trippy about it. There's just something like an uncomfortable, like a bad acid trip. Yeah, I loved this track, actually. Like, I'm not even super into, like, old, like, 80s hardcore and stuff. Like, I'm not, like, a huge, like, Black Flag person or anything like that. Like, but I love what they're doing. I know that those are the bands that they're, like, channeling. I think that this type of, like, hardcore, like, old school hardcore punk benefits so greatly from, like, modern day production. Because I think, like, I bet there was a lot in some of those older bands that I'm, not as familiar with that I wish I was. Like Black Flag and Gorilla Biscuits and stuff that, I probably missed just because I was listening on a bad sound system and I wasn't hearing what the band was intending for me to hear. So this type of genre, I think, existing nowadays where you can still have, like, an intentionally muddy mix, but like really, like, I don't know, it's nice to hear punk music not being held back by production anymore. Like it sounds really
Next
cool.
up,
I really like
we
this
have
one.
Falstaff with their EP End that they dropped, I think, early this year. This was a great mix. I got to listen to this a couple times. This modern version of metalcore is like so much fun. You can tell these kids they're young and they're having fun. I don't know if this is their first band or something, but you can tell they mix like the having fun with the like evil presence kind of thing. It was giving me Varials because like they were always like a silly band, but they always kind of delivered on like that tough guy shit. Some Amir vibes in there, especially with some of the production and turns that they did. I think it's fun that they don't take themselves seriously, and that's like something that Hellbent does. Like if you don't take yourself seriously and like are having fun with it, I think it's easier for people to get into. Yeah, what did you think?
This band, I mean, it's really hard to avoid the Amir comparisons, especially like Guide to Needlework, From Under the Gallows. I think they're channeling a lot of that sound. I was only going to listen to like one or two of these songs just to get myself familiar with it, and I genuinely liked it so much that I just let the whole EP play, and then I like listened to it the whole EP again like later today before recording. So I genuinely like this band a lot, and as the songs evolved, actually, I started getting a lot less Emir and just like
Yeah.
massive Sworn In vibes. Like, this band sounds so much like Sworn In, not in a bad way. Sworn In, like, they came out and their careers exploded because of how much character that band had between the instrumentals and between the vocalists. There was so much character in that band. I think these guys are reaching into that exact same pocket. Like, I love the movie samples around this. The air horns are hilarious. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, this is super cool. They're obviously a band that doesn't take themselves so seriously. Super fun stuff. I'm really excited. I'd love to see this band live. I think these are the type of bands that just pop off so well live. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know really how to summarize it. I just think that, like, I love bands that aren't scared to, like, wear, like, their Emure or Sworn In or even Acacia Strain, even though I think, like, Acacia Strain have redeemed themselves a bit. I don't think they're seen as, like, the cringy band that wrote, like, the Deadwalk album. Deadwalk's amazing, by the way, but I just mean in terms of, like, hyper-violent drop A beatdown, you know what I mean, that was coming out at the same time as, like, Emure, who were, like, the kings of, like, cringy lyrics, but just, like, I fucking love Emure. I don't know what to say. Like, I love the instrumentals. I mean, you could have anyone over those songs, and I'd like them. So, I mean, and Frankie's not, like, bad. You know what I mean? I think he has character, but, I don't know. Yeah, this band rules. I love bands that do hyper, over-the-top, tough guy shit, and I'm glad that we have someone in Ontario.
Next we have Soul Pace? Soul Pace?
Soul Patch. Soul Patch.
So,
No
yeah,
disrespect,
this was
guys.
a cool song. This gave me big Nothing Nowhere vibes, especially after we reviewed that record. You know, I could see this, you know, band falling on a major label, or maybe even touring with a band like Falling in Reverse. Like, it had those kind of vibes, that really modern mix of metalcore where, you know, the production is really part of the instrument at this point. And yeah, what I thought it was pretty, you know, modern take on metalcore. Yeah, very catchy.
Yeah, there were some, like, trap influences in there, I'd almost say. The way he was delivering some of the vocals, the Limp Bizkit parts were pretty unexpected, especially the first time, like, the bounce riff comes in. When you think you have the song figured out, it changes, like, on a dime almost. They're definitely doing something different from, you know, everyone we've covered so far. I don't think they sound like a single band that we've really ever covered. So, I mean, they're definitely doing their own thing. I think it's cool. It sound, you know, the switch between the bounce riffs and the melodic part was intriguing to me. I'm definitely interested in keeping an eye on this band and seeing, you know, how they move forward. So, we actually got sent an exclusive sneak peek at an upcoming song from band The Sync. They're channeling some super serious Every Time I Die energy with this song. It's called Cartoon Cliches. This is coming out on April 28th, which means if you're listening to this podcast, this song has already come out, but they very graciously sent us the song early so we could check it out. And yeah, if you're a fan of, like, Vanna, Poison the Well, Every Time I Die, you're probably gonna like this. Big southern mosh riffs, you know, all the stuff you'd be expecting. I think it's easy to imagine yourself being in a band that, like, is like, we're gonna sound like Every Time I Die. You know what I mean? We're gonna carry the torch. And I can't imagine executing it very well. It's got to be really tough to pull off, you know, genuinely having charisma like that and stuff. And I think that this band, you know, they come, you know, as close as, you know, I think you can really get without being, you know, the exact band. I think they, you know they sound like Every Time I Die, but they're doing it really well. So, I mean, if you're going to emulate a band, why not go for the goats? So, next on our docket here, I had no clue about this project. Do you know what the abbreviation stands for?
Yes, I do. As the World Burns.
Okay. Ooh, grim.
Yeah, see,
Grim.
I was judging a book by its cover. I was told that As the World Burns. I saw the album cover, so I was going to get some. I thought we were going to get some Metallica core, a term you've used before, or maybe even some, like, Chariot vibes. This was not at all what I was expecting.
Yeah, no, they're super funny. This is a hilarious project. It reminds me of, like, Rival Mob.
Yeah.
It's a 2-song split. I can't remember the name of the first song. The second one is called Loser, and it's really, really funny. Like, it's genuinely funny.
Yeah, I thought this was like the rawest form of like hardcore punk. Like, it deliberately sounds like it was intentionally recorded in the 80s. It kind of reminded me of your favorite band, Tyler, The Descendants.
Yeah, no, they're my favorite band. I know their discography back to back. Front to back, is that the
term? But yeah, fun. You know, they were tongue in cheek and yeah, really cool.
Yeah, his vocal delivery is so funny. Like, it's just, it's like, for lack of a better term, it's just like taking the piss. You know what I mean? It's so just sarcastic in its delivery. Moving on to like my new favorite band, Scaramanga Hardcore. Did you listen to this EP?
Yeah, this EP was sick. I got to jam it a couple times. Metallica core, like at its finest. The elements of punk vocals, elements of punk in the vocals. I loved the artwork. I could see this band playing with Rust with like Tommy. I at one point I even thought Tommy was featuring on this record. I love how the EP ended with that guitar noodling, with that chorus effect. Super cool band. TKO is my favorite track. That song was so good.
Yeah, this band sounds basically how I wish like Cruel Hand continued to sound.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Cruel Hand, even their less like popular albums, because they really are like pure Metallica worship. Mm-hmm. This band reminds me of like if Cruel Hand had kept their like prying eyes sort of sound and continued forward hyper fixated on making just like Metallica mosh riff songs. Like, this band is so good. Please, if you check out check this band out. They're from Montreal. They're a little bit out there. Yeah, we got them. They're too good. They were too good to ignore. Like, they remind me of Drain. Yeah. Because I feel like Drain is just a band, like a hardcore band, where the guitarist is just hyper fixated on like 80s metal bands. Mm-hmm. And like, this band just gives me the exact same vibe. Like, this is this is like when I think of like the ideal band I would be in. This is what it would sound like. Just like hyper 80s thrashy punk. Mm-hmm. Hardcore. This is absolutely sick. Shout out Scaramanga Hardcore. You guys absolutely slap.
Panic Response was the next track that we had up. I only got to listen to this track once, and I didn't have I was driving, so I didn't have the chance to write any notes down. But it did give me like big Acacia Strain vibes. I liked the tune. It was really like production was really well done. It was. What did you think?
Oh, this band's sick. Love the bass, super, super slinky. I love how polished everything sounds. Everything sounds super heavy. It's really hard to believe that this is this band's, like, second release. It does not sound like it. I'd be really curious to find out if these guys were, like, in another band before this or something, because this doesn't sound like dudes who are putting out the second song they ever wrote.
Yeah, I agree. No, the song sounded huge. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun.
Okay. It feels like when you're in a legacy 80s metal band, you're allowed to be worse for longer than you're good. And no one gives you shit about that.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to clarify, I'm not talking about Metallica specifically, and we will get into that, because I don't think 72 Seasons is bad.
We'll get into 72 Seasons, right?
But yeah, so I've been thinking about this for a long time. This has always been one of the things that sort of rattled around in my brain. This idea that, like, you know, when does it become, like, culturally okay to start saying that some of these bands are, like, not that good, or they're not aging that good, or, like, when do you have to stop, like, or just like the bigger question is like, why is like anyone paying money to like watch Motley Crue happen still? Like, I know the audience isn't us, but like I'm trying to figure out like how that even happens. Like I feel like 80s metal in specific has this like really insane level of like legacy that gets left behind, and there's this whole culture of people who basically every decade goes on and they're like, I only listen to shit from the 80s. No, like I only listen to Testament, and I only listen to fucking like all these different bands. So getting into these bands, I guess we'll format this by just giving our general thoughts on each one of them. What's the general consensus in this room around Megadeth?
You mean Mega Dave?
Well,
Mega Dave.
I like that. I've never heard that.
That's so funny.
You know what? At one point when I was, when you first start getting in, when I first started getting into like heavy metal and like 80s metal, when I was like at a young age, Megadeth came up because like, I was always told when I was at a young age that like Dave played in Metallica for like, he was like the heart and soul of Metallica, which is like the farthest thing from the truth.
I personally really enjoy Megadeth. However, my thing with Megadeth is they're incredibly inconsistent. It's like, I don't, if you listen to like Rust in Peace, which is like, in my opinion, one of the best thrash metal albums ever.
Yeah.
And then you go to like, say like Cryptic Writings. It sounds like a completely different freaking band.
I remember a distinct memory when I was a kid of going to the T-shirt shack when I was in high school, and they had this Megadeth shirt that was like a Lord of the Rings inspired shirt, and it said Lord of the Riffs. And I thought it was the sickest shirt. And then I kind of worked myself backwards into Megadeth.
Yeah.
I remember like as a kid liking Megadeth, but I feel like in order to like a Megadeth song, you have to like actively ignore Dave Mustaine's voice.
Depending on what era. My thing with Megadeth is I think they're a band's band.
I can get behind that. Especially as like not a guitar player. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Hell yeah.
Moving on, I don't have as much experience with this band. I feel like this was the type of band that was always sold to me as a band I would really like, but other than a few riffs and a few songs, they never appealed to me too much. But what do you guys think of Anthrax?
Love Anthrax.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah.
Oh, Anthrax was always one of those bands where I almost chalked them up to sort of like a Beatles thing for me, where it was like, I'm not going to go out of my way to listen to this band, but I understand, the incredible amount of influence that this has had.
I feel like this is the case with a lot of people that try to get into it, is the vocals turn them off.
I think that's a great segue to move into the next band here, because I feel like this, in terms of delivering vocally in the 80s, say what you want about them, and I will. But Pantera was like probably my favorite band of the like big 80s bands. The invention of basically groove metal, like these guys just, I don't know. And his vocal delivery, again, when everyone was like doing like thrashy, like when everyone was like figuring it out, Phil just seemed like 3 steps ahead. Like he's getting emulated to this day. So
dude,
there aren't many people trying to sound like the dudes in. No, there aren't many vocalists trying to sound like Dave Mustaine.
No, but dude, the thing with Phil too, like when he initially joined Pantera, they like pre-Cowboys from Hell, they were a power metal band.
Yeah, like a hilarious.
Yeah, dude, band. And like the fact that, like, yeah, dude's a piece of shit. But that doesn't subtract that he's an incredible vocalist. Like, just the fact that he's able to have that kind of range to do those sort of like super high power metal vocals, and then also like pretty much invent like growls and shit.
I didn't really actually have much of a relationship with Pantera until recently. I think Squires shot me a couple records to recommend, and I just started actually listening to them. I mean, I've never disliked them, but they were never a band that I like. I liked Dimebag's playing more than I liked Phil's singing. But
Fair.
Okay.
once you get into the band, you can like it. It's just like it goes well together. It's like peanut butter and chocolate. Like it's clear that they were like meant to be in a band together.
As someone, and I'm sure this room understands, who is a vocalist, it was Pantera where I was finally like, oh, I'd actually want to like sound like that. Like that's fucking sick. You just reminded me as well that they are one of those bands that greatly benefits from the beauty of the drummer and the guitarist being related, and just having that sort of psychic connection that you can't explain, that just
having brothers
can give
in your
rhythm
band,
especially on a rhythm section. It changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what you guys think of Iron Maiden. I'm sort of mid-range on them, Tyler. I think they're really in a good way mid.
I think I have the same relationship with them as I did with Megadeth. Like really, when I was early on getting into heavy metal, I really liked this band, and I think I just grew out of them and never looked back. I mean, I play a couple of the songs. Like there's a couple songs that I'll play and practice on drums. I don't dislike them. I don't listen to them too often, but Squires is often listening to them, and he's always pushing them on me. And they're a cool band. Yeah, no, I like them.
I could never get into them. Never could.
Oh,
cool.
My dad loves them. My dad fucking loves Iron Maiden. Shout out my dad.
Yeah.
But my thing with Maiden is like, I can't say I dislike them. And in general, there's not too much music that I dislike. It's just like, it doesn't do much for me, you know?
That's fair enough. That's kind of like how I feel about Anthrax. That's almost like exactly how I feel about Anthrax.
That's fair.
I feel like Iron Maiden is almost like the Rush of metal, where it's like a bunch of really talented people all doing something at the same time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I'm just like, that's awesome. That's awesome, guys.
Yeah, it's like good
it's
for
really
you.
cool
Good
that you
job,
can all,
everybody.
It's so cool how talented you all are.
Yeah.
I have a question. Here's something that I've always thought was obscure, and I don't know if this is a hot take, so like correct me if you think I'm wrong. The Big Four, Big Four. I've always thought that Iron Maiden should have been there instead of Anthrax, but has it been more of a location thing, or was it a time thing? Because Iron Maiden had been going at it since like 75.
There was like a very specific distinction of like British metal at the time. Yeah, they were
they're British.
They were hot. Yeah, if you remember, even in the early 2000s, and we're going to get into this scene. In the early 2000s, they would always like specifically call things like the new wave of like American metalcore, the new wave of European this. So at the time, like because of genre diversification, I think I think they were like the Big Four, like American bands is how it worked. Anyone in here have any strong feelings on Slayer?
I love them.
This was I love this band. This was a band I fell in love with. Only like I started working at Rock Universe with Dylan, and he was like a huge Slayer head, and I like they'd shown up in like Viva La Bam episodes, so I always thought they were cool, but I never listened to them. And he like played I think one of the latest records that they put out, and I was like, whoa, this is a new Slayer record. And then like I fell in love with it and just went into their discography, and like I love Slayer. This band is sick.
Can't say I'm a fan of Kerry King. The thing is, like, I love everything about Slayer except the guitar solos.
Because they're just noise solos. They're just
dude, yeah.
Like they're
it's
just
literally just like, how many notes can I fit out of key in this section?
Yeah, like it's not even about like how accurate the notes are. It's just
dude, for real,
notes
just
in
like,
a section.
Yeah, I love Slayer. Dave Lombardo is one of my favorite drummers of all time as well.
Yes.
So, yeah. Like that dude fucking rules. I mean,
he's sick.
Paul Bostaff is rad too, but Dave Lombardo is like god tier for me when it comes to drum influence.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shit on hair metal bands.
All right.
I don't know what to say about this genre. I can't think of a genre of music that has aged like culturally, socially, audibly worse than hair metal. I love hair metal solos. I love when hair metal is incorporated into genres. I love when hardcore uses like over the top flashy solos and some dude with a Floyd
like
Rose
Age of
in there
Apocalypse?
dive bombing all over the place. Yeah, like, but like the standing like power of someone like John Bon Jovi fucks my head. It blows it to smithereens. I don't even understand. Like, man, what's his name from Motley Crue? Vince Neil.
Yeah.
Dude looks like a bloated corpse, and he they bring him out, and he's and everyone in the band's suing each other, and like
the only kind of hair metal that I enjoy is "Blessed by a Broken Heart."
Dude, I agree.
That band rips. Shout out Tyler.
As we're getting to the end of this list of bands, I do want to basically to try to add some sort of order to this mess. Which of these bands, out of the ones we just talked about, do we think has aged the best, and which should have burnt out, and which has been fading away gracefully?
I think Slayer ended things properly. I think they were consistent their entire career, and they ended on a high note when they did their last tour. I think they held up the most out of all the bands we talked about.
Yeah, I would probably actually get behind that, though. Yeah. I agree with you, Tommy.
Fuck yeah.
I wanted to do a diverse set of opinions here, but I got to agree with you. Slayer was like just unrecognizably consistent, like the way they've been. I don't think enough people talk about the fact that out of like so many bands, like they're the ones who like really like stuck to the roots.
They were
like,
always heavy.
Almost their whole career, right? Like almost every album basically sounds like a Slayer record.
Yep.
What? For me personally, I think that the ones that are aging the poorest or should have burned out are literally all hair metal bands.
Yeah. Is there one that you're thinking of? I can't think of a good hair metal band. I was thinking about it when we were talking about it.
What? Okay, you know what? Quick side detour. What is the best hair metal band? Not Blessed by a Broken Heart. Honestly, probably Van Halen.
Oh yeah, Van Halen.
Van Halen's good.
Yeah,
I just remembered Van Halen exists.
Yeah, Van Halen's definitely the best hair metal band.
Oh no, Steel Panther. Pff, easy. Done. Steel Panther's the best hair metal band of all time because they're a parody that just absolutely delivers. You know? I don't know. I know. Steel Panther.
So the whole concept of let's say thrash metal, because obviously hair metal needs to be put out back and shot. Should thrash metal and old school metal in general burn out, or should it just fade away?
See, I don't think it's ever going to stop. I don't even know if it's burnout is necessarily the right word. I think it's just going to keep on. Maybe burnout until we've moved on to something else. It's such a staple in genres. That's like saying, is rock going to fade or burn out? It's hard to say.
I think it's going to fade away and we'll live on through modern hardcore bands.
Oh,
I think sonically that's the case.
Yes.
The one thing I will say is that out of the four different sort of genres we've spread this list into, this is definitely the most mainstream sort of genre for people to wear as this like entire personality they have. You know what I mean? Where they're like into 80s metal and they don't play an instrument, but they fucking know everything about guitar. And this guy fucking sucks. And this guy doesn't play drums well. And like
this
like
guy's
you know what I mean? Like
poser,
there's so many people. Yeah, there are so many like people who are like I like the wrong generation sort of dudes.
Yes.
Who are like, oh, like I think that like being preachy about how much better 80s metal is going to be a thing like for our grandkids.
Just like
so
from my perspective,
I want it to go away, but I don't think it's going anywhere.
That's fair. I just feel like that a lot of, especially with like people around our age, that a lot of the modern hardcore is legit just like Metallica riffs and or Slayer riffs. Testament riffs, you know, like it's just 80s thrash metal with more dynamic drums. There's no one in this world like Emily.
All right, so moving on to something that I know is near and dear to all of our hearts. The scene, sort of emo, the theater kid core, all the stuff that got lumped together. Something I wanted to start on is, for the longest time, I liked The Used just a little bit better than My Chemical Romance. So in my head, The Used was always the superior band. And now I have gone back as an adult, and I was horrifically wrong about this information. The first Used record is really, really good. But I don't think that any of them really hold a candle to the My Chemical Romance stuff. Can't see mine.
RAR XD, motherfuckers.
Oh. You can see that I'm balding.
Who was better, The Used or My Chem?
My Chem.
My Chem for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that was easy. Moving on. No, I think when I think back, I think that when it comes to first records, I think The Used record is better than the first My Chemical Romance record. I think that's worth arguing, right?
Yeah, I think the first
Box Full of Sharp Objects.
No. Yeah,
Taste
yeah.
No.
Yeah, that record's really good.
No.
No?
No. MCR, God tier, untouchable. I'm incredibly biased because they were the first band I ever fell in love with.
That's fair. Here's a controversial question then, maybe. What's the best My Chemical Romance record?
Black Parade, without a doubt.
As someone who has a Black Parade tattoo, I will say 3 Cheers.
I agree. It's 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge.
And I Brought You Bullets is fucking sick, too. Their first full length. Dude, Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us. So good, because they still had a bit of like metalcore influence on that record.
Yeah, and you know what? That's exactly what it is. I understand that the Black Parade is like the more creative album overall. Yes. I understand that it would take a lot more creativity. And the song The Black Parade itself, I don't think anyone understands that that's like a new age Queen song. It's like 100%. It's Queen for a new generation. The way it switches into pop punk is absolutely perfect.
Yep.
That's such a it is the new Bohemian Rhapsody. When you're a kid, bro. You know that your parents are super into it. Anytime that it comes on, everyone sings it. Holy cow, that is a crazy comparison. There's a band on here that I know my boy Tommy is absolutely obsessed with. Bayside.
The best band to ever fucking exist. Fight me.
Bayside's a very consistent band.
Very consistent, musically interesting, lyrically one of the most powerful bands that I've personally ever listened to. Just they can't do any wrong. I
don't think I have a bad thing to say about this band.
Right? Although my theory with Bayside though is you either fuck with them or you absolutely don't. There's no fence sitting for Bayside. I haven't met too many people that are yeah, they're okay. It's either yeah, I don't like them, or yeah, dude, that band's sick.
I had a very deep relationship with their self-titled album.
Yep.
I remember I think I got some Victory Records sampler and it had a DVD on it that was promotional material for it. It just made me love the dudes in the band so much.
Cool.
And then songs like We'll Be Okay and Tortures of the Damned and They Look Like Strong Hands.
That was my song.
Talk. This whole album, no skips on this album.
Yeah.
Devotion and Desires, fucking riffy ass song, great band.
Dude, so good. And Anthony, the singer, has been quoted saying this so many times that his approach to Bayside and what he sees Bayside as is punk rock show tunes.
Okay.
They have
theater kid core.
Exactly. It's legit theater kid core.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's definitely more subdued and he's very the one thing I've liked about Bayside is again they're very dramatic, but it's all wrapped in the shroud of subtlety. It's
that
the kid who's convincingly You know, like dark and brooding, like the kid where you're like, oh, that guy's serious about it. Like that guy has some fucked up thoughts.
One of my favorite things about Bayside lyrically is that in contrast to a lot of other emo bands, it was always like I found that a lot of emo music was very much so like self-deprecating or like blaming other people for your shit. But with Bayside, when I listen to them, I hear a lot of it's like, okay, this is shitty going on in my life, but this is how I fucked up and how I can change things. You know, it's like a band that actually like talks about accountability, which is something that is very lacking in that genre, in my opinion.
Yeah, he seems like he's writing from experience versus trying to write a sad song. Did you want to talk about Under Oath, Phil?
Under Oath, that is a band that I never really got into. I missed, went back years later and checked them out, and I think they're cool. But I feel like that was with certain bands, I find that you kind of have to get into them. Like Under Oath is one of those bands that you had to have gotten into during the earlier stages to really appreciate and understand them.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, Tommy, because like to paint the picture for you, there was a lot of like, the word isn't the right word, but there was a lot of drama behind this band. So like the first 3 records, they had Dallas Taylor from Maylene, and then he left after Chasing Safety, and then they gained all these other members, and all of a sudden they went from like a 4-piece band to like a 7-piece band, and they were super, super Christian. This was like the Christian metal band. This was when you were growing up and you had some kids that like or down the street who only went to church and they were kind of scared of metal. This was something that they could sell to their parents and be like, look, they're talking about God and how good it is for you to listen to this and kind of thing. Like it was like a loophole.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Under Oath is a sick band though. But I didn't like their newest release at all, to be fair. I just can't get into them.
The last 2 records have been like, yeah, they haven't been. And unfortunately, I saw them when the last Warped Tour came around. And this was the only time the first time I got to see this band, which was kind of like heartbreaking because I really like grew up with this band. And they were like riding that new wave of them playing this like new record. And it was a Warped Tour set. I don't know if there's much else to say.
Fair.
Let's blast through some of these here. Taking Back Sunday.
They were the rivals to one of my favorite bands growing up, so I didn't absolutely love them. But going back, they're not a bad band, and actually, I do actually like them. But it's hard not to think of the rivalry.
Yeah, I never dove too deep into their discography, but they did leave a good impression on me for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with Taking Back Sunday. They were one of the bands I actually did pay attention to. So I guess my summer would be if you want to know if you're going to like Taking Back Sunday, listen to the album Tell All Your Friends by Taking Back Sunday. Listen to that album and work yourself backwards because that's probably their most consistent release. It has a bunch of their biggest songs on it. It has like a real punk rock energy to it. Tell All Your Friends by Taking Back Sunday. If you like that, work forward from there, backwards and forwards. In terms of Paramore, I think they released their best album recently.
The new one, the new one.
Yeah, I really like that album. It's very, very different from what they normally do, obviously. And I'm normally not into like artsy, fartsy sort of guitar shit, but I don't know. This really worked for me. I really like that album.
I love Paramore. I didn't love that record nearly as much as some of their other recent, but I didn't dislike it. I love Paramore. I love Haley. I love Paramore.
Mm-hmm.
Riot, one of the best pop punk albums to ever come out.
Yeah,
untouchable.
Absolutely,
it's classic. God tier. Freaking yeah. I didn't really get into too much stuff after, especially with like all the drama that happened with the brothers. Because like the appeal to Paramore for me wasn't like, well, obviously Haley's a part of it. She has a fantastic voice, but just the dynamic of the instrumentation had so much energy of it without being like too aggressive, you know? And especially the drums on Riot are so creative. It blew my mind as small child finding that shit.
When bands lose that like brother dynamic, a piece of that band is gone. Like there are several examples I could give, but like when you lose that dynamic, you need to reinvent yourself with what you have left. And I think Paramore has done a good job, but I can understand with why someone is kind of like, I'm not really into the new stuff, because it is really different sounding, but they are. You can tell that Hayley Williams is a brand. She is like, she's got the hair dye company. There are people who are just going to flock to Hayley, whatever she does. So I think she's making the best of it, and she's making music that she likes, and it's all the while fun and enjoyable.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, I think that they could have wrote a very safe, radio rock friendly, slightly pop punk influenced album, made a bunch of money, got a bunch of streams off it, and moved on with their lives. But again, this album seems, this is definitely their most experimental record they've ever put out. Yep. I love when bands get more experimental as they go. I love when bands are taking more risks instead of, just trying to emulate what songs have worked for them in the past.
Totally.
What about the Boys in a Day to Remember?
They were also an important band at the time. I feel like they had such an appeal. They really marketed themselves where the tough guy breakdown appealed to like all the guys who wanted to like, mosh when they went to shows. And that was the only reason why they went to shows. They didn't even care who was playing. And then they had like the boy band singing, Jeremy McKinnon, like proper guy, I don't believe that everything. That song specifically just kind of switches from like mosh to clean chorus that everyone can enjoy to mosh. So I feel like they knew exactly what they were doing. Not a big fan of them nowadays, but like they knew exactly what they were doing in terms of that record. It holds a nostalgic place in my heart. I'm sure if I would have heard Homesick for the first time nowadays, I probably wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I picture the Anakin Skywalker meme in my head when I think of like their first 3 records, where it's like, you were the chosen ones, and then it just all fell apart after that. But like, the song that I always sort of, the pivotal Day to Remember song for me is Fast Forward to 2012.
Yeah.
Because that is that song distilled, that is that band distilled into exactly what I like about them. It's like a quick little circle pit part. It's like pop punk singing over the circle pit part, immediately changes on a dime into like the drawn out build up to go into just a quick little like 2-step part and then a breakdown. Like, and the song's like a minute and a half long. It gets in and out so quick. They've always been really good with like intro songs on those first few albums of like doing these like really like The Downfall of Us All is such a good tone setter. Like, what a fun live track, by the way. What a forward thinking fucking track. We're gonna get claimed.
Yeah, right.
But we do. But yeah, it's a really big bummer because like after Homesick, I even remember the marketing around the album after Homesick. They were like, what do you think, we're going to wuss out and put out a radio rock album? And then they literally did.
Yep.
It had like 2 heavy songs on it. And a band doesn't have to stay heavy, but like to be fair, as they went, their career only got bigger and bigger. So what the fuck do I know?
Yeah.
Totally. But like that, like the album For Those Who Have Heart, like if they had just refined that sound and like, I don't know. They are one of the few bands on earth where I genuinely wish they had just kept doing the same shit. So yeah, out of those bands then, which one do we think is aging the best and which one should just go away?
Bayside aged the best.
Bayside. Like they're the most consistent out of that list. Like I think, an argument can be made about Paramore because the experimentation that they've taken, but I think Bayside aged because there's something about all of the records even being like from the like they're just so consistent.
Looking at the list of the bands we talked about, I think I personally, this might sound strange to people, I think I personally enjoy the band Taking Back Sunday a little bit more than Bayside on a personal level. But I think I can keep I think I can agree that Bayside has been a very consistent band. So for me, I think it's a tie between Taking Back Sunday, just on a personal level of what I listen to. But I don't think every time that I go to like Bayside and I'm like, I'm just going to throw on this record because I haven't ever heard it by them because I just have such fond memories of the self-titled.
Yep.
I always end up really enjoying it, but there's just not, I don't get that stickiness I had with their self-titled to make me come back to it. But I've never heard a Bayside song I don't like. Where I've definitely heard some Taking Back Sunday songs I could go without. So you know what? You know what? I thought it through. Bayside wins. I agree.
Now, as terms of bands on this list that have aged the worst, I'm probably going to have to give it to A Day to Remember. Those last few records are clearly just copycats of the stuff that Bring Me the Horizon has been like just pioneering. Like the sound that they've been doing is just clearly feels like a coattail, being like, oh, we can add some heavy electronics into this. It feels very stale. Like the last two records, I don't even know if they've had a good record since Homesick. I think that was maybe like the best record I enjoyed. Or for those of At Heart, that's a good record too.
What's the last used record you listened to?
Let's look.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't look. It shows. The Used has aged so piss poor.
Yeah.
If you listen to any of their releases from like 2010 on, it's like embarrassing. There's no aggression left. It's full Theater Kid. I don't. Yeah, the Used. I agree that A Day to Remember hasn't aged great. I don't think that they're like offensively bad at what they do. No. They were the promised ones, and that bothers me a lot. But out of this list, and honestly, this might be a bit of a hot take too. But I thought that new My Chemical Romance song that came out was kind of dog shit.
I didn't like it.
If that's what they're going to do, no, it was boring. Yeah. It's just like it sounded like fucking shoegaze to me.
Yeah, you know what?
It's like black metal shoegaze.
Yeah,
Tyler, I think I'm gonna have to agree with you. The Used has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 records I've never heard of before.
I dare someone watching to find me a good song on any of those records. You put a good Used song from the last 10 years in the comments and I'll eat crow or whatever people say. So, as a genre, do we think scenecore should burn out or fade away?
It should fade away, but it's going to burn out with the recession of since we were young or whatever that festival is.
When we were young fest.
Yeah, it's gonna burn out. People are gonna look at scenecore the way we look at hair metal.
Yeah, I can agree with. I could definitely get behind that.
I think emo will live on through acts like Nothing Nowhere and the kind of people we spoke about in the reviews on that. So I think that emo will live, you know. I think Juice WRLD and, you know, Lil Peep, oh my God, they're both gone. But they were carrying the torch, so God, hopefully they tossed it to someone else good. But I think that I think a lot of kids grew up on this type of music, so I think the kids who are doing like bedroom pop and stuff like that are where we're going to see a lot of this like influence coming out. I love that we said that at the same time. It's going to sound great. But yeah, I think that I don't know actually, because I like this new revival of like MySpace scenecore, but I don't know if that falls into the metalcore category. I think it might.
I think it would lean more towards metalcore, I would think. If we're talking MySpace.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is more the emo side of the scene core aspect. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. So in that case, I think, it should fade out. I think that it's kind of done. And honestly, if like the most we're going to get out of this is like MGK and like fucking Macklemore and like Black Bear and like terrible pop punk records from like those types of dudes, then yeah, fuck it. Throw it in the trash. We don't need it anymore.
Fair.
Do you guys have any fond memories of Atreyu? I love their first few records.
I loved them. Oh, yeah.
The Curse, particularly. Talking about that, like, again, that 80s hair metal existing in a different way, like songs like Right Side of the Bed. And The Crimson is one of my favorite songs of all time, by the way. That song's like moody and crazy. I love that song.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I loved that. That was the only record that I really fell in love with. I didn't actually really care for much of their anything else that they ever put out. Fair. Oh no, the record before that one wasn't bad. The like Live, Laugh, Burn, Die. What is it? Live, Laugh, Love?
Live, Laugh, Love by Atreyu isn't that bad of an album. And actually, their album after, A Death Grip on Yesterday, I think it's called, that has some pretty bangies on it too. It has X's and O's, which is like that's again, they had a taste of butt rock, right? They got in there and they got a little taste of the butt rock. And they were like, we could do that. And that's what they do now. What about you, Tommy? How do you feel about Atreyu?
I never really got into them. Whenever someone says Atreyu, I just think of that band with the guy with the white guitar with the blood on it.
I remember they were the first band to like really like butt rock. They butt rocked more harder than a lot of bands butt rock. Like that song, like
early
Bull by the Bull by the Horns or whatever. I remember they had just come off a Death Grip from yesterday, and it was like their heaviest release, or like it had some of their heaviest songs on it. And then they came out and they like straight up like the grab a bull by the horns. It was like night and day between releases.
Avenged Sevenfold.
Oh, I could go on about them for a long time. I think, first of all, let me get this out of the way before I shit on these guys a lot. I think City of Evil is one of that's probably in my top 25 records of all time. As soon as I picked up a guitar again, one of the first riffs I started learning was the verse riff to Backcountry, the like to get my fret hand going again. Like they're goated for that album, but like they're like NFT grifters now and shit. Like it's awful. I don't know why that band fell apart.
Dude, City of Evil is an incredible album. I remember I got into A7X, and Bullet for My Valentine through Need for Speed Most Wanted on my PSP in like grade 6.
He's got some questionable singing on it, but you can look past it because it it flows. It flows with the record. There's just I think there's one moment where he kind of, you're like,
the song trashed and scattered.
Just like for me, it was drums. Cause like at that point I hadn't started playing guitar yet. All I played was drums at the time. So then like hearing the drum tracks on City of Evil, like regardless of the rest of the instrumentation or the vocal, that shit just made me fall in love with it.
I loved Waking the Fallen, but when you go back to it, it is not even remotely heavy sounding at all.
Sounding the Seventh Trumpet has some sick shit on it.
Yeah, it has some like punky songs on it, actually. I agree.
Metalcore shit, man, when Shadows was actually screaming before he started doing the butt singing. The Wish.com James Hetfield vocals.
But yeah, how about Killswitch Engage? They've been pretty consistent, I think.
I fucking love Killswitch Engage, man. I think My Last Serenade was the first metalcore song I ever listened to.
Yeah, I remember being a teenager and learning the rhythm parts to the actual song, The End of Heartache, was like one of the first songs I could get like through all the way. So like I could actually like play it front to back and like feel like a badass doing like the breakdown parts with them and shit. So I have huge fond memories of this band, and I was actually like a big Howard stan. Like wasn't into the band when Jesse was in, so like there was all this fanfare around Jesse coming back, and I was like, yo, they're doing my boy Howard so dirty right now.
So you might hear me say this from time to time, and even about some of these bands on here. There might be a time where I say I love a band, but I don't really listen to them. But there's something that I love about them. Like if you put them on, I'm like, hell yeah, fuck yeah. But I don't listen to this band, but I love this band. I love I don't even know his name, but the guitarist is so charismatic. He was on Price is Right. Yep. And he won, and like, and there's the one clip of him like with the wireless doing shots at the bar where he's like, "Oh, this is my part." Like he's just like, I love this band, but I don't. I'll be honest. Like if you like were like to try and quiz me, like and even tell me like stuff like that, I wouldn't know it because I'm not that familiarized with the band. But like I love this band,
dude. Adam D, huge reason why I love Killswitch, especially just because of like he's an incredibly talented person. He's a phenomenal mix engineer, great guitar player. His band is obviously super heavy and super awesome and very successful. However, like he lets his music and his work do the talking for him, and he's just his genuine self on stage. You know, like he's wearing like a fucking like barbarian helmet, a little cape, and short shorts with his guitar all the way up to his nipples, and just like saying the dumbest shit, but everyone loves it, and he's just being his genuine self, and he's delivering with his band at the same time.
He's entertaining.
You know? Like, that's the thing. Like anyone that can show some sort of authenticity of themselves unapologetically, like wins me over so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were one of those bands where the personality of the members really shined through. They had like a really like pivotal DVD that helped people get into them, where it was like I think one of the CDs was like or one of the DVDs I guess was like a full live recording of them playing a bunch of songs, and then the other DVD was just like that sort of like Every Time I Die, like shit happens sort of like just like hijinks sort of video, and it did a lot to sell the band. I knew that's exactly where you were going, Phil, with that when you were bringing that up, because this band has such like a magnetic presence and an energy, and the only other band I can really think of that has that energy to me was Every Time I Die. Was watching the Shit Happens DVD and being like, I literally want to hang out with these dudes so fucking bad. Like, and Killswitch definite Throwdown too. And it's like, it was those DVDs. They were so critical. Yeah, boy. Hey. Yeah, boy. Sorry. I was scared something happened.
No.
I distinctly have this memory from the Killswitch Engage DVD where they were making fun of Lamb of God for basically having a quote-unquote no smiling on stage rule. And it just was so funny to me. And they're like, we want to be the opposite of that. Like,
straight up.
And man, you totally get it from that band. So, controversial band, As I Lay Dying.
Shadows Are Security is fucking awesome.
Yep, I do agree. It's goated. It's dumb. I remember hearing the song 94 Hours on like Much Loud when I was like 14, and just like the hammer on and pull off wrist starts coming in, and like the dissonant chords come in, and like that is the first time I'd ever heard that like type of riff for the first time, and I just felt like so busy. I was just like barely holding on. It was so crazy. I distinctly remember the first time I heard As I Lay Dying and just like being like mind blown that a guitarist were doing this. I guess we'll just address it. I'd actually love to get anyone's take. Fuck Tim Lambesis, bro. Yeah. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, you tried to hire a hitman to kill your wife. Like, I don't care how long you go to jail. That's some fucking weird shit, dude.
Just get a divorce.
That's some weird ass shit, bro. That's some weird shit, bruh.
Yeah, just get a divorce, buddy, man. That's not like if you really want to get out of that, man.
Up like the hardest anyone could, really. Like, it's not,
dude.
Like, how much more can you fuck up than trying to get your partner knocked out? Like, that's fucked up. However,
it's absolutely insane.
To be devil's advocate, I'm not saying this is my opinion. However, I have seen this in Lamb Goat comments, so that just, it's fucking legit if it's Lamb Goat comments.
Verified fact source, yeah, right? Lamb Goat comments.
Yeah, it's a great source. But it's like, I saw people commenting like, okay, he got arrested, he got caught, he went to prison. What more do you want to happen to him? Like, when is he, like, it's like, what else do you do?
Like, even with the Kanye West stuff, when he just like went fucking loco, I was like, well, fuck, like, I've been listening to Jesus, and now like I just don't feel comfortable listening to it.
Yeah.
Like,
I gotta stop you real quick. You could go back and watch it on the tape. I just noticed, so there's a little red dot in the corner that says like we're recording.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was something in the back, like over there flashing.
Oh my
and
God.
I was like, what the hell? And then I like,
someone's trying to get a red dot on you.
I had no idea what it was. And then like, you could probably see me clue in and go, oh, like.
That's so fun. So the next band on our list is The Devil Wears Prada. I think this band is actually very consistent and goated. I don't know what to say about it.
I can get behind that.
I don't know what you guys think. Yeah? Good. Because I think that they're shockingly consistent if you pay attention.
Yeah.
I've really only ever fucked with the Zombie EPs.
Really good EPs.
Yeah.
They're both really
Those
good
are
EPs. But those are the only things. I've also seen them live, and they play a really good show live. Actually, like if you ever get the
tight, eh?
if you get the chance to see them, like they bring the energy, they bring the performance. But the only stuff that like I'm familiar with is those two EPs.
Yeah, literally the first song I was ever able to play like guitar to front to back was the song "Dogs Can Grow Beards All Over."
Hell yeah!
And I loved that band growing up. Obviously, I kind of grew out of them for a bit, but like then even some of their like newer releases, which are much more like heavy rock releases, like in the metalcore scene, very few bands have like a full on like cringy first album like they do, and then to like move forward with the grace that they have moved forward with is crazy.
Roots Above is a sick album. Dead Throne's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, they started to really like even their jump from their first album to their second. There was like a huge level of like musicianship growth that happened with them. So yeah, and now if you listen to their newer stuff, it's not nearly as heavy as it used to be. They're heavy when they want to be. They like pick and choose their moments. They did a second Zombie EP. Getting into the most mainstream metalcore band, the second most mainstream metalcore band of all time, Architects.
So my introduction to this band was I went to go see the Holly Springs Disaster, and Architects opened for them. And this is like, I never even heard the band before. They were playing stuff off of Ruin, I believe the record is. And it was mind blowing just being like, this is like this. That sound back then was so sick. I love old Architects.
I mean, they're like a heavy emulated band now. It's like a metalcore cliche at this point to be this band that has this like crushing first record and then to immediately start going this Architects route, like where you become more techie. There's a joke that they all have this one breakdown that they all use that they literally took from Architects. Like
now that was a band that lost a brother Dymanic.
Mm-hmm. That must have, and he was, as far as I understand too, he was their head writer.
They're twins, which is like how more of a connected could you be? Brother aspects have already been established and already been proven to, like, you know, they add a really cool dynamic to your band. But when you have twins, one on drums, one on guitars, they were just, those early records are just like the drums and the guitar are like, they're an entity.
It's the psychic connection, I'm telling you, especially when it's the rhythm section, and the guitar can be the rhythm section, you know what I mean? When you have that rhythm section that just, you don't even need to explain what you're trying to do with your riff. He's your brother, he gets it.
I can attest to that.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
It's like with Rust, we have like Rick and Robert brothers on guitar and bass. And like,
I'm jealous when that does that. I wish I could get my brother to play some fucking drums or something and just be like, yo, like, I don't think you understand. Like, we'll get it. Like, we won't even need to speak. Our tempos will change at the same time and stuff. Like, brother dynamics in bands, again, like early Acacia Strain, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just like, it's such a standout thing. When you find that out about a really good band, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what? They might actually be slightly more popular than Architects. I'm not sure. Maybe on a global issue. What do you guys, or maybe on a global aspect, these guys are more popular. What about Parkway Drive?
I think they're bigger.
I don't know.
Sick as
I don't
hell.
really find. I don't know if I really know, to be honest. I only really liked that one record that didn't age really well. Smile something. It's
Smile?
like, yeah, that record. And I
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
And like, I know that record didn't age well. Like, I haven't listened to it recently, but I know it did. Like, there's some songs on there that just. So actually, I don't know if I have really any opinion about this band. I know that their new stuff is very different from that record that I just mentioned. It's not for me, but they're popular for a reason, so maybe they're super accessible.
Yeah. They, to me, are basically on the same sort of like the exact same arc as like August Burns Red. Okay. They're just like a band that seems to like refine. As far as I understand, I don't go out of my way to listen to Parkway the way I would listen to August Burns Red. I've always been more just into them because I got so into their first few releases when they came out. Mm-hmm. But Parkway is, whenever I've dropped in to listen to a Parkway album, as far as I understand, they sound more or less how they have for like the last 10 or so years. Like definitely they've evolved from that album, but I think there was an album called like Dark Days or something.
Yeah.
And from there on, they've been just sort of refining, again, that very like, it's like metalcore that is primarily screaming, but I feel like you could almost like, it could get like maybe radio play
like
at
metalcore
like
arena rock
or something.
Yeah.
That's how I hear it.
Yeah. For me, Parkway Drive was a band that was like, I heard of them basically at the same time as I Killed the Prom Queen. And I was like, well, one of these bands has so much like attitude to them, and one of them just feels like polished. And I wanted to listen to the dirtier, more attitude I Killed the Prom Queen sound kind of band.
That's fair, man.
So, the next band that we have on here is one of the most influential bands to come out of the scene, Bring Me the Horizon.
I would say that they're arguably bigger than all the bands that we've just mentioned. He's on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, and like he is a brand. Ollie Sykes, we were talking about a day to remember, knowing what they were doing as far as marketing. Ollie Sykes has known what he is doing from the get-go when it comes from the Drop Dead clothing line to the way that he looks, to the lyrics, to the way that they've animated and like just evolved over the stuff. I don't know if I've listened to the latest couple records of the band. I'm not totally in love. Count Your Blessings will always be like cherished in my heart as like, that I thought that was the peak of metalcore at one point. Like they were just, I don't know. They are spearheading a lot of the stuff. And I feel like even in some aspects, Architects is kind of, paying attention to what they're doing. They're kind of in their own lane, but like I'm telling you, Bring Me the Horizon is doing stuff and bringing new listeners, bringing just people from all aspects to the genre. And like you get into a band like Bring Me the Horizon, say you like their latest stuff, maybe the most poppiest song on there, and then you end up listening to Count Your Blessings. Like you end up, maybe you go through the entire discography and just go backwards, and you end up at Count Your Blessings, and all of a sudden you're listening to a deathcore record. So there's something special about this band for me. What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah, Bring Me the Horizon's a crazy band for me growing up. I loved Count Your Blessings at the time too. I felt like that was one of the bands where I remember when that release came out, like Count Your Blessings, it felt like no one was like quite as heavy as them. It reminds me of when I heard Bludgeoned by Suicide Silence. Yeah. I was like, well, that's the heaviest shit I've ever heard, straight up. Like I've never heard a breakdown. Like it sounds like buildings falling down. Like it's not. It doesn't even sound like instruments anymore. With them, my favorite record by them is Suicide Season. Like that is their evolution from a deathcore band to like a sarcastic hardcore band was crazy to me. Like I think Suicide Season is I don't know if that album slept on or not. I'm assuming that the one with like
Alligator Blood,
Diamonds.
No, that's
the one after.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's my favorite.
Yeah, no, this one had I'm blanking on so many of the song names now, but it was like a bouncy like hard.
This one had it was written in blood. Diamonds aren't forever,
which is probably honestly the worst song on there, despite being the most popular one. Like it's probably the most how would I explain it? Like it's probably the corniest, you know what I mean? The "we will never sleep, because sleep is for the weak." It's a little corny, but like
Sleep with One Eye Open.
Sleep with there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Sleep with One Eye Open is fucking absurd. That sounds like a Slayer song halfway through.
Yeah. And you know what was really interesting about their marketing is like everyone who was a part of that scene had all of their eyes on Bring Me the Horizon at the time. And the very next thing that they did was that remix record. And it was like threw everybody off. And it was like the first time you were hearing, that was the first time I ever heard Skrillex was on that fucking remix record. This was the first time that like you were bringing EDM and metalcore, and it was so special. Like it was a good marketing move, and there's been some people who have kind of done things similar to that since, but like they are the first band in my books to ever do something like that for sure. They know exactly. I swear he's probably got like 100-page textbook of what he wants to do with this fucking career, because like every move seems to be the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember growing up too that no matter what they did or what they sounded like too, like just his pretty boyness made them the band to hate. Like every like dude in fucking cargo shorts was like, fuck that band. And then they'd like give you this like fucking like 10-minute dissertation about how like music isn't about image, but they're judging him based on his image.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah,
no, like if you're gonna be in a heavy band, you gotta be ugly like me. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it's such a weird.
God forbid.
No, he needs a beer belly and cargo shorts and like those just brown no name shoes you get at Walmart.
Yeah,
and like a shit goatee. And then I'll take his band seriously. Like, it's so stupid to me.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, it happened to Mitch too, but you know what I mean? Like, no, it didn't happen to anyone more than Ollie Sykes. I've never heard a band get so dismissed. Yeah, I mean, I was a little older, I guess, for when that band came out, so I kind of missed, like, the big wave of it. But for me, like, as a teenager, like, Ollie Sykes was, like, the person that, like, like, he was the Justin Bieber at the time, I swear to God, where everyone was just like, fuck that guy. And I'm like, why? I like his music. And they're like, you stupid. I'm like, all right, like, well, I mean, like,
with that shit coming out at my age, having friends both older and younger than me, I was caught like between like both sides of that, because like I had friends that absolutely loved Bring Me the Horizon, and then friends that were exactly like the cargo short kind of people you're talking about as well.
You have to look like Jamie Jasta or you're not allowed at the show. Like, it's fucking ridiculous.
Oh shit, bro.
But yeah, shout out to Bring Me the Horizon. I mean, they're at this point like Architects. If the band wants to stay like as close to metalcore as possible while also treading around the bordering on radio rock, like maybe you get on like the Spotify, like there must be some reason they consistently go down this like almost Deftones Linkin Park core vibe that a lot of bands do.
Yeah.
But Bring Me the Horizon is straight up Linkin Park core now. Like it literally sounds like Linkin Park. Like if you threw in like rap, that'd be it, right? Like they have, again, like they've created a blueprint that a lot of bands follow now. Like you just sound like modern day Bring Me the Horizon and you'll have like middling success.
Yeah.
So they're the band to emulate for sure. Any fans of August Burns Red in the room?
I love ABR. Messengers is one of probably my in the top 3 favorite metalcore records for me.
That's a no skip record.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the amount of influence that had on like drumming for me, because I played drums in a metalcore band when that shit came out. Insane.
Yeah, they're so consistent, and you know exactly what you're gonna get with a ABR record. Like, even with the latest stuff, like you know exactly what you're gonna get. They're talented musicians. This might be a interesting take, but they are a Christmas band to me.
Dude,
so every time Christmas, but they've got like several EPs after that, even with like so like honestly I listen to them a lot around Christmas, and they do, and it's hard not to listen to any of their other music and not think of like, man, this breakdown would sound better with some sleigh bells, like,
right?
I like the Sleddon Hill album, and I completely agree. I remember I have a very distinct memory of being young and hearing the song Up Against the Ropes and hearing him hold the scream, and that being like the moment that I like got interested in like really being a vocalist. I was like, oh, like,
so tight
like,
live.
He holds it for like 30 seconds. Like it's so long. And then of course good. Like hearing a song like Backburner, and just again, like there's something about being there in the moment for something like Messengers, where you're like listening to it as it comes out, and you're just like you hear Composure, and you're like, okay, this song's pretty heavy, this song's pretty cool, and then like you like hear Backburner, Backburner, and it's like that ending breakdown in that song is legendary. It sounds like the time zone around you slows down when that shit plays. Like, it sounds like it's moving slower in time. There's very few breakdowns to me that sound like that. And as far as I understand, they've remained very consistent. August Burns Red. Every album that comes out is like their new album has some like 8 or 9 minute long songs. I haven't checked it out yet, so I don't want to comment too heavily on it. That sounds kind of interesting. I think they're the type of band that can pull it off. But I don't know. The longer the song, the harder.
They're Heinz ketchup. You know exactly what you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Great way to put it.
So, metalcore rednecks, Lamb of God.
Why? You know, what is it about them? Is it just because they have a song called Redneck? Because I'm totally with you that they are the redneck metal, but like, is it the vocal style? Is it the guitar, like the southern guitar? Like, I don't know what.
So goddamn easy to write down.
Yeah. There's just like something like it makes you want to just rip off the sleeves of your shirt and fucking get into a 4x4-wheeler and like just start mudding and just like you know shooting guns and stuff, so hanging out with Elijah from friggin' Trauma Model or some shit. Like,
Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah, no, it's like it's borderline insurrection court, but
Jesus Christ, bro.
Which is, it's so funny to think about it though, because Randy Blythe is such like an extreme leftist. Like, he's like a superhuman.
Well spoken.
He's like a big human rights dude too. Like, it's so funny. Like, I bet there's like such a, like with Five Finger Death Punch, you hear that and you're like, oh, I can imagine like what these guys think about certain things.
Yeah.
I have a pretty good idea what these guys think about some certain shit. Like, I'm pretty sure I know what these guys' opinions were on like anything.
Yeah.
But Lamb of God is the type of band that sounds like dirty southern, like Duck Dynasty ass redneck music. But it's like written by a bunch of like dudes who are like Randy's like a super punk dude, and then like as far as I understand, like the guitarist, or like it was either the guitarist or the drummer, again brothers in this band.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's
Not
still
anymore.
that way.
No.
I don't know. But yeah, okay. I knew it. See, I heard something about that. But they had that original, you know. And again, if you're talking about like original albums, like As the Palaces Burn and like Laid to Rest and stuff, you had that brother dynamic on it. As the Palaces Burn is like a crazy album. It's really, 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 really good. That was a big album for me growing up. And yeah, Randy, like he went to jail because he like accidentally hurt some. What happened? Does anyone know?
Yeah,
I forgot.
so
someone went
happened-
on stage.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Phil.
So I was gonna say someone went on stage and like stage dive, and didn't he say? Correct me if I'm wrong. So maybe you might know this. Didn't he say like, "I want to see someone die tonight" on the mic? And like this guy ended up landing weird, like nobody caught him, and he ended up having to go to the hospital, and he ended up passing away due to that fall. And like they blamed it on Randy. It was a country in Europe, I believe. And he had to serve time for it. I think
a long time, a few years, right?
Yeah.
But so goddamn easy to write this. I made you jump off the stage.
He feels like he feels. I've heard him speak about it, and obviously he feels deeply sorry about it. You get to like it's someone you said like he is a compassionate person. So like. He really like and like of course when he ended up in jail, like he's the dude from Lamb of God, so none of the prisoners are gonna fuck with him. They're gonna protect him. They're gonna make sure he's like, it's the dude from Lamb of God. It's like, that's my favorite band, like, you know what I'm saying? So like he actually had a lot of time to like kind of like really console and like, I don't know, come to terms. Yeah, you can tell he feels really guilty and terrible about that, and didn't really mean for. Yeah, he didn't mean for any of that to happen, obviously.
Yeah, of course. I haven't listened to their new albums too much. I think like the remasters for a bunch of their early releases dropped on Spotify, so it's just like the production cleaned up on it, and it just, you know, you can actually hear everything that's going on in those instrumentals and stuff. And yeah, I don't keep up with them, but as far as I can tell from the few songs I have heard, whenever I've come across it, they seem to be whatever sound they started to hit on that album that has redneck on it. I forget what it's called. It's
Sacrament.
like purple. It's got like a chalice or something.
Sacrament.
Sacrament. Thank you. They've been basically doing that sound ever since, like that, like,
and they
sort
created
of like just
it
a little less. Yeah. Actually, I would agree with that.
You know?
It's like I think at the time a lot of bands were doing the Southern Fried sort of thing, but it was like. It was very like flavor of the week. Like even Every Time I Die with Gutter Phenomenon and the Big Dirty did it. Like Maylene like made a whole career out of it. But Lamb of God was doing this like
metal version of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like if Every Time I Die was like going down south to Florida on spring break, and like Lamb of God is like dudes who live in the fucking swamp and like hunt the gators.
Like it felt like it took inspiration from like Pantera.
Exactly, yeah. It's redneck ass groove metal. So hell yeah, brother. So out of all those bands, I mean, I see a glaring obvious one, but two glaring obvious ones. Okay, so out of Atreyu and Avenged Sevenfold, who has fucked up the hardest?
Avenged Sevenfold.
Do you think? I don't know. You sound like someone who hasn't listened to a new Atreyu song, my friend.
Exactly.
Really
I don't know enough
now.
about Atreyu to have an opinion, but I know about Avenged Sevenfold.
You know what? I think it's got to be Atreyu, actually, in my humble opinion, because at least Avenged Sevenfold still comes through with like interesting guitar, like, you know what I mean? They'll write like a 7-minute song, and yeah, like M Shadows will do some like dumb fucking maniacal during the song. It just fuck, I hate that shit. So, what do you think, Phil? If I guess you haven't listened to either of these bands too recently, but out of these two, which one has laid the stinkiest turd?
I'd say Atreyu.
Yeah,
because there's still people like people that love like Avenged Sevenfold has almost
they're beloved.
Beloved. Like there's this like cult following behind this band.
Yeah, and honestly, if you talk to the average Avenged Sevenfold fan now, they would say the best album's Hail to the King, and that's fucking crazy to me. Yeah. So
that's just No.
I know, it's shocking. No. It's shocking. It's hard to deal with. They're like, it's like City of Evil, but better.
It's like no, it's like it's not like City of Evil, and it's shit.
Yeah. Well, because they, you know what? And just we'll double back on this, I guess. There was a time where a bunch of really popular metalcore bands were all easing themselves into sounding like other bands. Like Trivium was becoming the new Metallica. Yeah. There was a certain band that was becoming the new Pantera, and Avenged Sevenfold just decided to be like, fuck it, and they decided to be the new Guns N' Roses. And that's kind of what City of Evil is.
Yeah.
So metalcore, I don't think it's going to burn out or fade away. I think metalcore is like synonymous with music with guitars at this point, basically.
Yeah. I agree.
I think it's just going to continue to evolve, and there's going to be even more ridiculous subgenres around metalcore. Because if you can like think up of some stupid subgenre that you may not think is real that involves metalcore, I'm sure if you dig hard enough, you'll be able to find it.
It's like it's like what's the internet rule that like if it exists, there's a porn exists of it. It should be if it exists, there's a metalcore version of it.
If there's a genre of music, there's a core version.
Dude, totally.
I agree, actually, and it's even almost like a meme now, right? To just call anything like even like bands that get reviewed well by the Needle Drop just get called Fantano core.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like it's a meme in and of itself. The way that the core, I wonder how many people do that, where they call things core and don't even understand that originates from how hilarious metalcore and hardcore got stretched out.
Yeah,
that's funny. There you have it, folks. Which genres should burn out and which should fade? That was a great time with our homie Tommy. We're just going to do our weekly recommendations. What have you been listening to lately, Tyler?
I've been spinning an album I used to listen to a lot before, so it's definitely going to be my recommendation for this episode of the podcast. And it's going to be Pulling Teeth's album, Funerary. I don't know how well known this band is. They're like a sort of grimy, sort of really, really punkish hardcore band. And the Funerary was the last album they ended up putting out. I think in like 2011. They have an album called Martyr Immortal, which is like the really, really popular one with fans. But the album Funerary for me is just this like super dark, grimy, like evil ass sounding, like it has like songs on it that are like almost like proggy, like 10-minute atmosphere songs and stuff. But then like the whole first half of the album is these really like aggressive, almost grindy, like super fast, punky, just like super heavy songs, super grindy, a little bit like Weekend Nachos and stuff like that. It reminds me of almost. They have a song on here called From Birth, which has the hardest guest vocal performance I've ever seen. It's Justice from TUI. I'm going to send you the lyrics over to put on the screen for the specific passage I'm talking about. But my God, it is literally the hardest like guest vocal passage I've ever heard on a track. But yeah, songs like Brain Drain, The New Dark Age, and they have this really haunting song called Waiting, which is like almost this like mocking sort of idea of like Christians waiting for God to return. And it almost has this like, it has this passage in it where they're singing like, you're still waiting, he's not coming. It's like this really like super like childish mocking, like, I don't know. They're super sick. They're like this sarcastic, evil sounding, like grindy hardcore band. And I definitely recommend Funerary by Pulling Teeth. What about you?
Cool. I've been jamming something that we were just talking about before we started. In fact, I had you join the chat here, and before I even noticed you were in here, I was jamming some tunes, and you said it sounded like a theme song to a cartoon. Yep. And that's going to be my weekly recommendation. I was listening to Foxy Shazam. I'm not going to recommend the record that I was listening to, but check out their record, The Heart Behead You. It's like, I mean, every song is about love, so it's a little cheese. It's a nice soft rock record. I really enjoy it. It's pretty passive. There's nothing outstanding that really happens out in the record. They've got some other records that they do some crazy stuff, and they're an excellent band live. I've had the chance to see them a few times, but this is something that caught my attention just recently, actually. I looked them up on the streaming sites, and I wasn't sure if they were still putting records out, and it turns out that I'd missed two. So then I put on this one, and this one I've actually been digging the last couple of weeks. So that's The Heart Behead You by Foxy Shazam, a nice soft rock record. Probably lots of people in this podcast might not fuck with it, but if you do, let us know. Right on, folks. Well, that was the episode of Bandecdotes. Thank you for tuning in this week. Follow on Instagram at Bandecdotes, BANDECDOTES 2.0, because I got locked out of the other one. Here's a lesson for you. Save your backup codes if you ever need them, kids.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out the Encore coming up next week. Me and Tommy sat down. We talked a whole bunch of Metallica. He gave his tips on how to get started on making your own music at home. We got silly with it. It was a good time. So if you want to see that conversation, make sure you check us out next week.